Olá pessoal, aqui é o Diego Cordovez novamente com mais um episódio do Cast for Closers, o seu podcast para dominar inside sales e colocar suas metas no bolso. O tema de hoje é conduzindo uma operação de vendas nos Estados Unidos versus no Brasil. E para falar sobre esse tema a gente convidou o Matt Doyon, ele é VP de vendas da Rock Content, uma startup já conhecida no Brasil inteiro. E agora a gente vai trocar a linguagem oficial do podcast para o inglês, para o Matt poder acompanhar a gente melhor. Eu sei que ele fala um pouquinho de português, ele já deve estar me entendendo, mas a gente vai falar a partir de agora em inglês. Hi Matt, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you here with us.
Muito pouquinho. I need to qualify your statement very little. So it's nice to be here. Nice to meet you. And the challenge, not just to learn Portuguese coming from the U.S., but to learn Mineiro, which I understand is a completely different language that I'm trying to learn in Belo Horizonte. So
yes,
it's been interesting and a challenge.
Yeah. In Brazil, we have a lot of small languages. Completely different from the usual Brazilian Portuguese, right?
Yeah, but it's been fun.
Yeah. Matt, before we jump into our podcast, can you tell us a little more about your experience and how it's been doing here in Brazil versus in the US to run a sales team, the challenges with the language and so?
Yeah. The language actually hasn't been too much of a challenge. I think sales is almost like its own language that you can learn to speak, especially sales in this era where it's so driven by data.
Yeah.
That we can work together a lot on that. And fortunately for me, the guys over at Rock Content had a policy only of hiring bilingual English proficient from day one.
Yes.
For every area of the business, every employee. They knew that a lot of the material and a lot of the information that was going to lead to Rock's success was really only available in English. And they felt that it was going to be critical to have just basic proficiency in English. So they made it easy for the gringo to come down and assimilate with the team when I did.
Yeah, sure.
But a little bit of my background, I've been in sales for 15 years now, mostly inside. I've done outbound sales, inbound sales, cold calling, sold B2C, B2B, account management, transactional sales, monthly reoccurring revenue, which has kind of been what my business has been focused on now in my selling for the last 5 or 6 years.
Yes.
And I'd say that there are more similarities than there are differences, fortunately for me, between the U.S. and Brazil in terms of training, coaching, ramping up sales teams, working with customers, working with clients. There's been a lot more that I could say is similar than it is different.
Yeah, nice. So I think the first big change is culture, right? So what are the main cultural differences from a sales point of view, of course, between here and the U.S.?
Yeah, when we look at the cultural differences, that's probably one of, or the most important thing that jumps out. Again, people are people, human nature is human nature, and then we all have our different nuances as we move to different cultures. And really, there are two things that jump out more than any, and I guess I'll frame it as one is more of an external process and one is internal in running a sales team in a business.
Yes.
And they're both very, very related. Just externally in running a sales team, especially an inbound sales team, which I've mentioned has really been my experience throughout my career. It's a mature industry in the U.S., It's been around for a long time. It hasn't always been there, but it's been there long enough now where it's really worked its way into the business culture.
Yes,
Businesses, having a commercial relationship, which is completely through technology, over the phone, email, web conference, what have you, and never meeting anyone from the other business in person has been much more of a standard in the U.S. For many years now than it has here in Brazil.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit of discomfort that's around that, both on the client's end of things and through different organizations, to really make an investment there and really double down and triple down as far as that kind of a business model. Just culturally, because it's a bit new, anything new has its own level of discomfort. And with that, I think that we're working quickly to get over that. We have some great success cases here in Brazil now of businesses scaling quickly, like Resultados Digitais does it really well.
Sure.
Conta Azul, I know Conta Azul is really ramping up an inside sales team now. They're doing great over there.
Yes.
Samba Tech, some of ours here in Belo Horizonte have done it really well. So it's starting to really work its way into the business culture as far as a way of doing sales. But that's one big cultural difference here. There's no talent pool of sales personnel to go after here in Belo Horizonte, coming down as a guy who needs to scale a sales team here at Rock.
I can imagine.
You don't find a lot of people who come here with years of inside sales experience. That's one big wrinkle in the cultural differences externally. And then internally, the culture in the U.S., not just business-wise, I think in general, is quite a bit more focused on the individual than it is the community. And I think that both have benefits and both have detractors, things that take away from the bottom line. In the U.S., you can just throw a bunch of money at a sales rep and tell them to go get a prize, and that gets you a lot of great results. And here, in terms of running incentives, I run a lot of individual incentives for reps, and I've run a lot of team incentives, and the team ones seem to do better here than they do in the U.S. People tend to pull together more as a team and focus on the group more than they do the individual.
Wow, that's interesting. Nice.
It's been new. It's been fun to learn, and it's just a different way to play on the benefits.
Yeah, sure. I was reading an interesting article last week that stated that sales leadership always boiled down to two words: consistency and accountability. Right. So consistency in coaching and developing sales reps, and accountability in forecasting and, of course, hitting your own quotas. So as a sales VP in both countries, how do you see consistency and accountability between your sales, amongst your sales managers?
Interesting question. And really those are two key elements. If you look at, right, you can see those two same words come up if you're building a machine. And the best run sales organizations, that's exactly what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to build a machine that runs consistently, and they can track the performance down to the unique components. And the unique components in a sales machine are the people actually doing the hard work, the actual sales representatives, the managers, the business development representatives, everyone that's really putting the pieces of that machine together to make the one big mechanism that makes the sales organization run. It's more engineering language than anything else.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, as the guy who has to kind of make the rules around what that machine looks like, or make the blueprint for that machine at Rock, it really starts top down. It starts all the way with our CEO, Edmar, with our founders, with me. It's really setting the rules of the game and really being the example of that. So if we all have accountability and we track everything, and we're very transparent with the numbers of the business, and we're very transparent with what everyone is doing, and everybody can see everybody else's performance, it's kind of hard to start pointing fingers and then saying, well, it's everybody else, but now it's not me if something fails.
Sure.
We really don't have a problem with it at Rock. We really have a great team. There's no finger pointing. Everyone assumes that they're responsible and they own up to it. And with the consistency, I guess this was bred into me by one of my mentors and a guy that I meet with fairly regularly, who you had the pleasure, I think, of speaking with recently, Mark Roberge. Yeah, Mark's been great. He's been a great mentor of mine for years now, and having worked with him was great, and still being coached by him while I'm here at Rock has been great. And the consistency piece, again, has to start with me on the sales team, and that is making sure that everything is repeatable and transparent. So everyone is hired with the same formula. We try to do our best to bring the same kind of person in and read what success looks like. We give them the same training, the same opportunities, the same systems, open them up to really all the same benefits that everybody else has in a very repeatable formula. And if we do that, everybody has the same right to succeed. And then again, that leads into the accountability piece, where I have the same benefits and the same opportunities as the 6 or 7 people that are sitting around me in my small group. I'm going to have to deliver, or if there's something wrong, and then it's got to be me.
Yeah, it was a great conversation with him, and he was talking just about that, how hard it is for sales managers to make accurate forecasting and accountability, right, for their own quotas.
Yeah, with forecasting especially, and having that accountability around forecasting, it's more, I think, based on the inputs than the outputs. You know, the forecasting is supposed to be the deliverable number that's going to be brought in that month or that quarter or that year, however your business runs on the sales cycle. And, you know, what are the telltale signs that can allow us to predict the validity of that number? And do you have that scheduled appointment that is in the books, ready to go for a next step? Do you know really well what that next step is? Are there specific criteria that you outline as far as what that next step in the process should look like? And how many of those little boxes of those criteria have been checked off? So, you know, you can, I think, get caught up with the qualitative analysis and the happy ears that a rep can get, saying, I feel good about this one. This one feels like it's coming in. This guy gets it. Yes. Those are the warning signs for me as looking at this from a scientific process. And again, trying to look at it as engineering something. I want measurables. I want criteria. I want detail. I want those boxes to be checked off. Yeah. And that can give us a little bit more predictability, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot more on numbers than just formulas or guessing, right?
Yeah, and again, I think we've been somehow very, very fortunate to find great people here in Belo Horizonte who've come to us, and you know, we interview a lot. We're careful to find the right kind of person, but the people that we find, they don't blink. You know, we let them know in the training what it looks like, what we're asking for them, what the system is, and what the process is, and they say, okay, we'll go do it. And if they don't deliver, they don't point fingers. They just said, I missed it this time, and I'll do better next time. It allows us to really grow predictably at Rock. It's been one of the least stressful parts of my job is trusting the number.
Wow, that's nice. That's nice to hear. So talking about these great sales reps, there are a lot of Brazilian sales reps listening to us right now. So what could you tell them about what they should do on sales here that it's done more in the U.S.?
That's a great question, and you know, it's something that has really risen to the surface for me, coming just, you know, very, very all at once from one culture to another and one sales environment to another, from the U.S. to Brazil. The one thing that jumps out at me the most is here sales seems to be a little bit more on the defensive. Just from the very first call, it seems that they put the business that they're looking to help and looking to work with in this position where they have to owe everything to them, and they don't even deserve the time to speak sometimes, and everybody is thanking everybody else for their time, and they're not looking at their position as a real value add, as really there to help. And the philosophy we really try to breed at Rock is think of yourself as a doctor. And if somebody is sick, you're there to help them. And if they're sick in a way that you can actually help, then it should be a rewarding relationship. You're adding value. You're there to support them. You're there to help them. And they're going to feel better about that, even though they may not want to take the medicine, even though that medicine may cost money. You're there to help. And you should feel a certain sense of pride and a certain confidence about it, and not apologize or not feel like you're on the defensive with people that you're talking to. I think we have a little bit more confidence in that respect in the U.S. than is here in Brazil right now, but I see it changing quickly as well. We solve real problems with the businesses here in Brazil, real business problems for our customers, and approaching the conversation in sales like that is starting to transform the identity of the sales rep here. It's not this marred profession that has a lot of negative connotation to it anymore. It's a profession that's honorable, and it's starting to build that honor and build that confidence, I think, because we're focusing more on the problem and solving problems for customers.
Yeah, right. So adding value, right? So I was reading about this doctor and in business analogy. So I think here in Brazil, we are always polite on approaching the client and showing his or her needs. Yeah, but we're not great at prescribing ourselves as specialists, like that confidence that you was telling about, right?
Right. And again, it's changing quickly, I think. I see a lot of transformation. I've only been living in Brazil for about a year and a half, but I've been working back and forth here for over 3 years. And I think it's transformed a lot even in these last 3 years. I think sales has come a long way in the market. And I think the shift in just how we sell and really focusing on problem solving is really starting to build the conversation as more of a collaborative effort where the sales rep and the customer are equals in this process of fixing a problem, and one doesn't have more leverage over the other.
Yeah, and it's natural, right? You were telling in the beginning of this episode from the major differences between Brazil and US, and this is a classic one, right? As our market becomes more mature, we get more confident.
Yeah, I think so. And a lot of that is being shaken up by the economy now. And when the economy tends to go through a rough patch, businesses start to reevaluate old systems of what they were doing and take a second look at what the status quo is. And things start to get shaken up a little bit. And I think that shaking up mentality that's going on right now and all of that turmoil that's happening can really be good for businesses that are solving legitimate problems. Yeah.
The money is changing hands, and our business here can take advantage of that.
That's right.
So we've been talking about sales operations, the sales reps. So let's jump into our clients' world. Yeah, we wrote a post last week about sales processes centered in the customer and not on sales steps like call, demos, etc. How do you see this, and how do you do that at Rock?
Where I see it, and it's funny because it sounds like a lot of this is brand new, especially coming here where inside sales is so new. And a few months ago, I remember giving a training lesson inside Rock content on this, and one of the newer reps said, "Man, Matt, this is great. How did you come up with this?" And I was thinking back, and I said, and it caught me by surprise a little bit, and I did some thinking, going back to the first time I had heard about this, and it surprised because I work with a lot of younger people, and I said, the first time I was trained on this was 2005, customer-focused selling.
Yes.
And I remember this image of the coach that was training me, and it had a picture of planet Earth, and it said, whose world do we want to live in? It's not about our world, it's about our customer's world. I mean, it's really been around, and I'm sure it's been around much longer than that, even if not by the name of customer-centered or customer-focused sales. But it's been around for a while, and it really should be obvious for businesses, but it's not. I think the essence of it is always asking the question, so what? If there's anything you're talking about with somebody, So what? Why is it valuable? Why is it relevant? Why is it important to them? And the only way to do that is to kind of forget what you're there for and understand the problem that you're solving, the solution that somebody is looking for, talk the language they talk. Essentially, as salespeople today, we have to have a very strong gene of education. My mother is a career college professor, so maybe I grew up in a household with a bit of a head start on this. But in just basic teaching and basic education, you don't teach one way for everybody. You have to learn the ways that people learn and teach the way that people learn and modify what you're teaching the way people can actually absorb that information. Is it numbers driven? Is it story driven? Is it direct to the point? Is it a little bit longer and takes a bit longer of a narrative? And when we drop our guard and focus on the customer and how they learn and the information that they need, then we can match exactly what that value proposition is, not just to the business, but to how somebody takes that information in and assimilates it. How we do it at Rock is, and it's great that you're putting out content like this now, Diego. About not calling it, call and demo and all these steps because they're focused internally. We really, forgot about Rock and forgot about what was important to us and really just focused all of the attention on our clients and what they thought was important to make a valuable decision for their businesses. And the key difference there, one of the key steps in really most sales organizations is this middle step, or this very important step that a lot of sales organizations call discovery or qualification. You've probably heard of that quite a bit, Diego. We thought about that and we thought, do people really wake up wanting to be qualified or feeling like they need to be discovered? It just didn't seem right to call it that, especially when we're trying to focus on what's important to our potential. So we named that piece the digital business assessment. Yes. It's not about marketing. It's not about content. It's about, I see an opportunity through digital and online to do business. And we want to give an assessment and give you our feedback, no strings attached. We'll just give you the playbook on how to improve it. Sure. And through that, we're able to do the same thing, but keep our mind always focused on what's important to the customer. We don't sell, and if you talk to anyone in my team at Rock, they'll tell you I'm pretty passionate about this. We don't use words like sell or close. We use educate. We use gain agreement. We use open a new account with a client. These are words and these are ideas that are important for our clients. Nobody calls in and says, I'd like you to close me today. Yes. But they're willing to agree with us. And if they agree that what we're offering is best for their business, they move forward.
Yeah, it's their money, their wallet, and they decide the moment to open it, right?
Right. And going back to what we talked about earlier and having that collaborative feel and not feeling like they're on the defensive. If I'm closing you, I'm doing that for me. This is closing. I'm ending this, and it's the end game for me, the sales rep. But for your business, that's what's not important. You're gaining an agreement. You're agreeing with my business that it's best for you to move forward. So that's where we want to be. We want to be in the world of the customer, and we're really agreeing that what we're recommending is best, and we're opening this relationship, not closing it.
Yeah. So right at your point, relationship, we were talking to Lincoln Murphy a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that one thing he learned here in Brazil is that relationships are even more important for Brazilian clients. Like, they like to shake hands. And how do you see the challenges here with relationship with your prospects?
I love that you asked that question, Diego. I hear about it all the time. I've been hearing about it for years now. I first started working in Latin America back in 2010, doing a lot of work in Mexico and in Chile. And then 3 or 4 years ago, I started working a lot here in Brazil. And everyone in the U.S. especially said, how do you do it? People in Latin America, you need to get down there. You need to shake hands. You need to take them out to dinner or buy them lunch. They need to be friends with the people they work with. And I didn't have that luxury. I was working as an inside sales guy in Boston.
Yes.
And I wasn't going to get on a plane to Mexico or Santiago or Sao Paulo or wherever every time business had to be done. It just had to find a way through it. And I knew I couldn't control it, and any really good sales rep will forget what they can't control and just focus on what they can. And that's kind of what I started with of, let me just forget about that for now and just do the business the best way I can with these limitations. And what I found is that, I know, we had Lincoln Murphy come to Rock Content a couple months ago. Lincoln's great. Really smart guy, and he knows customer success really well. And I think he is accurate in the customer that we need to keep that in our minds. I teach the guys at Rock, and I really am vocal about this everywhere, not to think about that because it's a limitation that we can't get around. And what I found is it's a limitation that doesn't get in the way of doing business, because if you are solving a real problem, you make a rational proposal and a rational plan for somebody. It doesn't matter if they are in San Diego, California, or Sao Paulo, Brazil. If it's rational and it makes business sense, they're not going to stop you and say, okay, you can make me money or save me money or reduce the risk in my business. I'm ready. This is going to really help me, but I'm not going to come to a conclusion with you until you buy me lunch. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
People here still make rational business decisions, and if you can be rational and make a persuasive, compelling argument, people move forward and they do work with you.
Nice. Matt, it's been a great talk. Would you like to leave any final comments or a message to our Brazilian audience?
Yeah, I guess the one thing I get asked a lot is, why did you come down here? What are you doing here from Boston? You're working at a great place of HubSpot, which is, one of the best places in the world to work at. Why would you walk away from all that and come to Brazil with your family and start working here? And the short answer is, and I think I would love to leave everyone with this if possible, is there's a huge opportunity right now. Things are moving really, really fast in the market.
Yes.
And the economic disruption that's killing a lot of businesses is actually accelerating the ones that make the most sense. At Rock Content, we're seeing record growth. I know our partners like Resultados Digitais are seeing record growth. It's been an amazing time. If you have disrupted a certain piece in the market that is really valuable for customers to rethink the old way of doing things and get onto the new. And inside sales especially is one of those opportunities. It's a faster, much more effective, much more efficient way of doing business. And I think anyone that's really focusing on this as a profession now is going to be the pioneer here in Brazil. You're going to be one of the first people to really get in there and know it. And 5 years from now, if you have 5 years of inside sales experience, you are going to be a very valuable employee for an organization, because it's going to be much, much more the standard way of doing business. Jump on it now. It's a fast time. It's an exciting time. And don't be too worried about some of the economic shakeup. If your business is valuable and you're solving real problems, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah. It's a natural trend, right? Five years after HubSpot, InsideSales.com emerged. So 4 or 5 years after Resultados Digitais emerged, someone, of course, us, we're always trying to take this market. So it's inside sales. It's an opportunity for sales reps. It's a very emerging world, and we love this. We love it.
Yeah, it's great. It's exciting. Now, I gambled a little bit when I came down here a year and a half ago, and it's been the smartest decision I've made. The market's been great, even in the midst of all this economic disruption. The business has been great at Rock Content. We've been doing great. So the future looks really, really bright.
Yeah, it's always good to take a new, completely different challenge, right?
Yeah, that's saying a lot in a few words, but there have been a lot of challenges personally, professionally, culturally. It's been interesting, but it's been a lot of fun.
Matt, thanks again for being here with us, with our audience. And let's talk soon again.
Yeah, I can't wait. It was fun to be here. I loved it, and looking forward to meeting you and having you up to Belo Horizonte. Come on up here sometime.
Yeah, I'll schedule. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, Diego.
Thanks, bye-bye.